Miss George?
Yes?
Hello?
Yes?
Okay, she will be with you shortly. Hold on a second.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on a second, please. Hello, this is Tom. How can I help you?
Yes, I was calling to get an update on my son James George.
Okay. We were glad to talk to you about that and give you a quick update. What exactly do you need to know?
Well, an update on how he is, where he is, what's the status of the situation.
Okay, yeah, he's doing okay. He's doing fine. I can not tell you where he is right now. I can tell you that we have been appointed by the court, and so this is a legal matter that you need to deal with the court about. And you have the right and you have the freedom, if you choose to file a motion to modify the guardianship at any time.
I'm aware of that.
You have to do that in person here at Cleveland County Clerk's office. But you have that right to do that. And anytime you choose to do that, you're welcome to file that motion.
Okay, yeah, I'm aware of that part.
And,
excuse me. Can I ask another question? Well, first of all, I want to know why he is in wherever he is and why you can't tell me where he is. What history? What history? We don't have any history. Well, I explained to you before it got to this point. We had this conversation before. We're reduplicating the same thing we discussed prior to this particular issue arising the way it has and evolving. I explained to you and Shelley and Megan that we were temporarily living in Grover due to being evacuated from Fayetteville from the storm. We had some interruptions in our place, our residence. We had to move abruptly, which rendered us homeless. There should be no reason why. He is a ward of the state. He has an intact family. We survived through everything. With me being unemployed, I was able to care for my family, have been caring for my family ongoing all of his life. There should have been no reason for him to be ripped out of his home at 5 o'clock in the morning, out of the bed, by the police, and watch his mother and his brother be separated from his mother and his brother for absolutely no reason. Services were in place. I'm sorry, let me please speak. I allowed you to speak without interrupting you. So I asked for that same courtesy. I explained to you I paused because there is a pause. When you pause, you speak, you pause. So I understand what you're saying, and you have already repeated that to me several times. So that is very clear. We don't have to keep restating the obvious. Before I left, James is headed for college. He's been waiting for this opportunity ever since he was a freshman in high school. I shared that with Megan. I shared that with you. I shared that with Shelley. He was already connected to a day program prior to the attorney ad litem stepping in. I made documentation of it. I provided documentation of that. There is no need for a multidisciplinary evaluation until he is enrolled in an educational institution. All of his rights have been stripped and violated due to this situation. He's disrupted. His whole family life is disrupted because of this situation. And there's no reason for you not to disclose where my son is. No reason at all. There's no reason for this MDE. There's no reason for him to be a ward of the state. There's no reason for him to be under the care, held against his will, wanting to be reunited with his family. And it was suggested that he has 24-hour supervision. And in the facility or home that he's in now, he has been exposed to 2 violent situations in the course of 10 days, of which he's never had any experience like that since he's been born, living with his family. So it's kind of contradictory to what all the safety plans and all of these recommendations that DSS were trying to force me to agree to, of which were already in place. So whatever legal issue it is, the only legal issue I see is James, under the Disability Act and his constitutional rights as a disabled adult, the right to be his own guardian, which he was prior to this, by his choice. This is not the best conducive situation for him. This is supposed to be done in the best interest of James, not you. So I need to know where he is, that he's okay. I need to be able to speak to him regularly. He's in a foreign environment again. He's already been traumatized watching a hurricane, surviving a hurricane, homelessness, being uprooted from everything he's familiar with to be placed with strangers. And then in a house where there's violent behaviors, where there's a caregiver who can't handle and is not equipped to handle physical behaviors from her clients. So that's the legal matter that I see arising and developing. He's terrified. You know it, and I know it. He belongs with his family. There was no reason to rip him out of Onslow County. This is why we came up this way, to get out of a rural area, of which you stated to me yourself is not well equipped for IDD, PDD disorder services. But we were able to connect him to services, and that was overridden by you and a judge. So I need to know, why are you forcing him to stay somewhere that he doesn't need to be? He's not socializing among his peers. He's not in a quiet, peaceful environment according to his level of functioning. He's high functioning Asperger. He's supposed to be in the least restrictive environment as possible. That's what the ethics state on DSS, APS, on your website. Those are the ethics. The laws state that too. So there is no legal matter with me, because I didn't break the law. I didn't violate James's rights. I didn't put him in a precarious situation or in danger. He has the right to move around this community within reason and personal time to go to and from and travel about freely. He's perfectly equipped to do that. Just like I shared with you, he can navigate the Chicago transit system since 12 years old without incident. Without any incident. So I'm just curious if you can help it make sense to me why he is being held somewhere, uprooted, and taken back to a place that was already deemed unfit for mental health services that were never provided upon requests after requests after request. Can you help us? Can you give us information? And we were told that after 30 days of financially assisting us in that hotel, that was it. There was no other services available. But now suddenly this is a mandatory operation that has to be executed to snatch him away from his family. So that's the legal matter that I see. But I would like you to explain the legal matter why you cannot reveal where he is and allow him to make his own choices. He's already been invaded with a TB test that is strictly against our spiritual beliefs as Native Americans, registered Native Americans. We don't practice Western medication, and that's exactly what I told you as well as Shelley. That also was overridden, violating his rights. It's invasive. Vaccination are what caused his autism. That's why we don't utilize Western medical practices any longer for him. So if you can please explain why you cannot reveal where he is, why he's not allowed to make phone calls, why he's not allowed to communicate with his family. I'm waiting for a straight answer.
Okay, so what continue to allow the phone conversations weekly, which we are planning for a phone call tomorrow, and we will continue to do that. We also still need to have dates available to make face-to-face visits available to
Yes, you said that already.
And so we need to know when your dates and times would be available for that. Can you give us any idea now, or do you need to email us those dates?
Can you please answer the questions I posed to you regarding my son, why he was removed from his home in the middle of the night? What is the cause? What is the reason?
We were appointed his legal guardian.
Why? Why were you appointed his guardian?
We have responsibility for James as his legal guardian, and because we are his legal guardian, the only way to change that is for you to file a motion to modify the petition with the court. And I've already explained.
Right. You don't have to keep re-explaining it to me. You don't have to insult my intelligence or my intellect. We don't have to keep repeating that same mantra. As I said, I confirm that I understood and received what you explained. Now, what you're not answering is, why did you make a motion to deem him incompetent when he clearly is not? Why did you make the motion to force yourself to be the guardian over my son when he clearly had a home, he clearly has an intact family, and he's clearly high functioning enough to navigate among society with reasonable supervision? Why did you have to make these motions and file this guardianship? You're not explaining that. That's what I need an explanation on.
I thought we had already done that, Ms. Jordan.
No, you did not.
We explained that the reason we were filing the petition was he was not being provided the adequate and appropriate supervision that was necessary for James to be safe.
Well, it's not according to what you think. It's according to what his level of functioning is.
That he was an incompetent adult.
Well, the court made the improper determination because there was no professional doctor involved. There was no review done.
I can't do anything more than give you that information.
Well, that's what I want to know. You're not explaining why. You're not explaining why he was deemed incompetent without being evaluated. Why is it a mandatory multidisciplinary evaluation order and it's not necessary? It's not necessary for him to be under 24-hour supervision due to his level of functioning. And he was being provided the level of care according to what he needs. He's not now, because he's in a situation where there's a roommate, a fellow client that has violent behaviors, wielding a knife, and the caregiver has to lock herself in the kitchen for safety. James is the one who went for help. So if he's incompetent, how would he know to go for help? Because that was checked off on the motion of hearing application, that he doesn't know when he's being exploited or in danger. And he clearly knew. He's always known what danger is. So according to the level of care that's necessary for him, you didn't evaluate him. You didn't even have a conversation with him. You had no professional input at all to make these claims. Whether the court agreed with it or not, you didn't perform the proper evaluation and take the proper steps according to your own ethics of the agency that you work for.
Ms. George, can you tell me when some dates are available for you to have the face-to-face?
I would like an explanation, please.
I am waiting for the dates for your face-to-face.
Yes, I understand that. And I'm also waiting for you to explain why you're holding my son against his will. It's clearly not the best environment for him. The social work is supposed to keep the family intact and find the best resolution for the individual in question, which is James. And the environment he's in is not in the best interest of James. And I want to know why.
Ms. George, would you be able to provide me with those dates?
Would you be able to answer my question, please?
If you can provide me with the dates and those, I would really appreciate it so that we can make this.
And I would really appreciate why you have my son. I would like to know why you're holding him against his will.
You can tell me, you'll send an email with.
I would like to know an explanation.
I really appreciate it.
And he needs to be afforded an explanation as well. It's his rights that were violated. And I'm his mother. So We deserve an explanation and accountability for this travesty that has been created to torture and traumatize my family emotionally and mentally. So we deserve an explanation. James deserves to be honored, and what's in the best interest of James, not what's in the best interest of Cleveland County or the local government. So when you can give me an explanation, then that will make things go a lot smoother.
In the best interest of James, he needs to be able to have this face-to-face visit with his mother, and I'm trying to make...
He should have never been removed from his mother's care. He should have never been removed from his mother's care or his family.
So if you could just let me know what dates are available to you, I will make sure that arrangements are made for that visit to occur.
Well, he should have never been removed from his family, which is in the best interest of James. You caused trauma. You caused him to be uprooted from his environment that he's familiar with. That is not in the best interest of James.
A convenient time would be for you to visit with James.
Are you going to provide transportation for this visit?
I can't provide you the transportation for the visit. I can make sure that James is providing transportation, but I can't provide you with transportation.
Okay, will you bring James to Onslow County? Because that's part of your job.
That visit here in Cleveland County.
Well,
if you're his guardian, you can bring him wherever he chooses to want to visit. That's his right. Again, you're violating his rights. If he requests to see his family or call his family, he shouldn't be limited to once a week. He should be able to make calls at will when reasonable. You know it and I know it. So you can keep on with this robotic answer, but you know you can't account for why you did what you did and having him removed at 5 o'clock in the morning with an illegal warrant and orchestrating me to be falsely arrested. How do you think, is that in the best interest of James to watch his mother be taken away in a police squad car?
We would sure
Tell him that we don't have a way to get to him.
Otherwise,
so are you operating in the best interest? Are you operating in the best interest of James, or is this in the best interest of Cleveland County's finances? That's what I want to know.
Make a motion to modify the petition.
I shouldn't have to make a motion to modify the petition because there should have never been a petition made.
Cleveland County, in order for that to occur, and we certainly do want to accommodate you to have a meeting with James, but that has to be done here in Cleveland County as well.
It doesn't
have to be done in Cleveland County.
Send it to me by email. Otherwise, I really have other things to do today, and I really need to get off this phone. Okay.
So are you refusing to offer up a logical explanation? Legally, you have violated all of his rights. You have stripped him of his right to choose. You're not making these decisions as his guardian, which is another conflict of interest that you can go to jail for. It's a felony to exploit disabled people. You know that, right? Do you understand that?
Ms. George, if you'd like to give me some dates for this visit, I'm willing to listen. Otherwise, I'm gonna have.
So you're just a staunch racist, right? You just a staunch supremacist racist, where you think that your opinion and your input is superior to anybody else because you have that little supervisory position for DSS. So you're collecting disabled people to pad your pockets. That's why you can't talk.
Do you have dates for me?
Do you have an explanation for me?